actually going to let some of you in? What's going to happen?
Well, basically, 2 people will be allowed in, and we're going to give the letter back and say that you cannot do this. That
Will there be any discussion about the letter when you're in there?
Not only will there be discussion about the letter, but we're also going to hand them another letter written by Dignity's National President, Kevin Calgary, basically saying that nobody has the right, no brother or sister has the right to throw any other brother or sister out of our Father's house and away from our mother's table.
Do you have your behavior kit here?
And the people of God are going to be that against.
Have some people address some of the issues brought up in the Vatican letter and our response to it. And first up, we'll have Joe Raimondi from Dignity, New York.
Give him a clap.
My friends in the gay and lesbian and bisexual and straight community of the United States and of the Catholic Church, as a member of Dignity, New York, I have one question to ask. Where do we go from here? For too long, we have waited patiently for the church throughout the world to see us as we really are, and they refuse to. For too long, we have hoped that the gifts given to us by God in this century, psychology, sociology, anthropology, would have awakened the world to the fact that we are not the stereotypes the world has painted us to be. Yet, we are still viewed as evil and criminal and sinful and sick. Where do we go from here? When in the land of freedom and justice for all, it is possible to vote out the rights and liberties of gay and lesbian and bisexual Americans. It is not a coincidence that this letter was published in an election year, a letter which specifically encourages the open discrimination of gay and lesbian people in employment, housing, adoption, and the right to be good and productive citizens and family members. Where do we go from here? When religious systems profess that God is love on the one hand, and yet profess and encourage acts of violence on the other. The question that I've asked today, where do we go from here, is one that I would encourage you not to try to answer now. It's a question that I would encourage you to take home and think about for the next few weeks. And while you're thinking about that question, I want you to remember too that each and every one of us has a great deal of work to do. I read in the papers the other day that 38% of the gay and lesbian vote in the last presidential election went to George Bush. 38%. I hope that in giving this letter back to the Vatican, we rededicate ourselves to working harder than ever for our people. As gay and lesbian and bisexual Americans, as members of the Catholic Church, let us remember the prayer of St. Francis. Let there be peace on earth, and let it begin with me. But let us also remember that no true peace can come without justice. In the meantime, Dignity, the Conference for Catholic Lesbians, and the Cathedral Project will continue to work for that justice. Please find out more about your local chapters, and please join us as we continue our struggle for liberation. Thank you, enjoy the day, and God bless you all.
Thank you, Joe. And next up we have the Regional Director of Dignity Region. Region 2, Mr. Bob Anthony.
Thank you. I bring you greetings from the officers and board of Dignity USA. As many of you know, Dignity's national president, Kevin Caligari, returned this letter to the Vatican when he was there in Vatican City in July. And the Dignity board returned this letter to the National Conference of Catholic Bishops headquarters in Washington, D.C. this past August. Today, we continue this action of non-reception as we, along with the Conference for Catholic Lesbians and the Cathedral Project, return this infamous document of bigotry to the Vatican Embassy. We also ask all other Christians to join us in calling on all bishops and clergy of the United States to repudiate this document. We applaud those who have already spoken out. Bishop Murphy of Seattle, Bishop Gumbleton of Detroit, Bishop Quinn of San Francisco, Bishop Ferraro of Honolulu, and the bishops of Oregon, who courageously ignore the dictates of this letter as they publicly oppose the referendum that would deny all gay and lesbian rights. Dignity seeks similar statements and actions from all bishops and clergy, and we will be promoting a series of actions throughout the United States from now until the American bishops meet in Washington in November of this year. At that meeting, Dignity will ask the bishops to both repudiate this letter and to support national legislation promoting gay and lesbian rights. We will seek the support of all Christians in this endeavor, especially those in positions of moral authority. In this regard, we make special note today of the courage of Reverend John Tuei, Assistant Professor of Moral Theology of the Catholic University of America, who in the last issue of America, the Jesuit Weekly magazine, repudiated this document, stating that, quote, "The Congregation for the Doctrine of the Faith has rewritten the rules of moral theology," unquote. Inciting the violence that this letter incites, Tuei further stresses that, quote, "When it suggests that gays and lesbians should simply keep quiet about their private lives to avoid violence and discrimination, the Congregation for the Doctrine of the Faith exposes its ignorance of the psychological and self-inflicted violence among youth who struggle with their sexuality." And he concludes, "Silence will not stop the violence." We today seek to break that silence and call on all Christians to speak out. But we know that many do not feel they can. For those, we pledge that we will not be silent. For all gay priests and lesbian and gay religious who are oppressed by the church they serve and love, we will not be silent. For all gay and lesbian youth struggling for their identity and seeking support and guidance, we will not be silent. For all gay men and lesbians who, for whatever reasons, feel compelled to hide their true identity, we will not be silent. The Vatican needs to hear this, loud and clear. As long as we have life and breath, in fulfillment of our Christian duty to witness the truth of the gospel of Jesus Christ, we will not be silent. Thank you.
And also from the superiors of my congregation, the School Sisters of Notre Dame, who have supported me in this ministry for almost 20 years. My superiors have had to face their share of rejection and complaints from the Vatican, but have stood firm. So they're with us here too. I want to tell you about a project that New Ways Ministry is doing to kind of counteract this violence that has come from the Vatican this summer. New Ways Ministry is going to place a signature ad in the National Catholic Reporter, which, as you know, is one of the liberal papers in the Catholic community. And this ad will appear on November 13th, which is the issue right at the time when our bishops will be meeting in Washington. We're coordinating with Dignity to have a big press conference at that time of the bishops' meeting. This ad will appear in the National Catholic Reporter, and we hope that we will have thousands of people who will sign on to this ad. Now, what are we going to say? We're going to say things like, the Vatican has said that it is okay to discriminate against lesbian and gay people in certain situations, but we say that the inherent dignity of lesbian and gay people must be affirmed, and we must support civil rights at all times. That's what we're going to say. The Vatican has said that if there is a situation of someone being a teacher or an athletic coach in a university or academic setting, that it's okay to discriminate. But we say that coaches and teachers who are lesbian or gay are among our finest people, and we need these role models in our educational institutions. That's what we're going to say. The Vatican has said that lesbian and gay people should not be parents, should not adopt children, should not have children of their own. But we say that lesbian and gay people already are providing loving and nurturing homes for many, many children and make wonderful parents. The Vatican says that lesbian and gay people should not be in the military. We say lesbian and gay people are in the military. And in fact, a recent government study showed that lesbian and gay people who are in the military are no less qualified than any others. In fact, are much more qualified in many cases.
Yes.
As an aside, I have to share this little story with you. In August, in the latter part of August, I was down in North Carolina giving a workshop on homophobia, and into the workshop come some people who want to register, these three burly guys with tattoos on their arms and crew-cut hairs, and Bob Nugent and I thought, uh-oh, here's trouble. Maybe we're going to be protested by some skinheads. But lo and behold, in the course of the workshop, these three guys made it known to us that they were gay, and in fact they were gay Marines. And they said to us, they told us that there are lots of gay Marines. In fact, they said there are more gay Marines than straight Marines. And they said the only difference between a gay Marine and a straight Marine is a six-pack of beer. That's an aside. What else are we going to say in this ad when we tell the world that we support lesbian and gay civil rights? We're going to say that on one hand, the Vatican claims that lesbian and gay people are a threat to family values, but we say that it's heterosexual marriages that lesbian and gay people are forced to go into, which are a threat to family values, because these marriages subsequently end in divorce, and that is the breakdown of family values. We say that it's homophobia that's the threat to family values. The Vatican says there would be no problem if lesbian and gay people stayed in the closet, if they didn't make it known that they're lesbian or gay. But by staying in the closet, we're forcing families to divide. We're creating walls of division and alienation, and that is the cause of the breakdown of the family. And we say that we deplore a value system that rejects lesbian and gay reality, that forces many of our young people to they're unable to deal with their sexuality, and they're forced to take drastic measures like suicide. That is a threat to family values. In this ad, we are going to remind the Vatican what the institution was created for. It was created by Jesus to be a place where all people are welcome. We need to remind the Vatican of gospel values.
On earth is not God's equal. We shall not be silent, nor shall the earth remain unmoved. Though mountains fall like timber, and blindness mask the sky, and if our voice were broken, still the stones themselves would cry, for our life will not be silent, nor the earth remain unmoved.
The Paraclete, the Holy Spirit, whom God will send in my name, will instruct you in everything. Loving God, come to our assistance.
God, make haste to help.
I reject this letter because no one has the right to distort Scripture, and no one has the right to claim that they can hate in God's name.
I reject this letter. It describes my lifestyle as abnormal. The only thing abnormal about my lifestyle is that I have to be here on the street to fight for my rights as an American citizen.
This letter, and I reject the hierarchy who wrote it. The same hierarchy that stated that AIDS is God's punishment for our lifestyle. I reject that. And I reject the hate of this letter.
I reject this letter on behalf of myself, but also my father, who is an amputee Marine veteran from World War II, that told me before he died he did not fight and lose his arm for his daughter not to have freedom in America.
letter because of the stereotypes and the lies that it perpetuates about gay and lesbian people.
I reject this letter because its last comment invites the entire civil society to reject us.
I reject this letter, but I would embrace those who wrote it in love. They are desperately needing of it. As Christ says to hate the sin but love the sinner, so we shall hate the people who have led us written to love those and reach out to them in love and forgiveness.